Doomsday Survival, My Apocalypse Begins with Saeko Poshima, Episode 31, Tick, Tick, Tick. Because the lights are only half open, the light in the police station building is a little insufficient, and some lamp tubes are even worse in contact, sometimes bright and sometimes not bright, unconsciously, creating an atmosphere of haunted house exploration. Fong Nan held the knife in front of him with both hands, always vigilant, looked down at the small white hand that was tightly grasping his clothes, and sighed. I said, Miss Nakoka, you are not even afraid of zombies. Are you still afraid of any cow, ghost, god, and snake? This is also no way. In short, we girls just can't stand this atmosphere. Don't believe you ask Poison Island classmates. You say Poison Island classmates are right? Asami Nakoka's face was crimson, and she retorted with a small voice. She thought that the Poisonous Island Tsunako, who was a woman, was also deeply touched. Who knows? She turned back but found that the other party was holding a wooden knife. The exquisite facial features were expressionless, not to mention scared. She didn't even have an expression. Huh. Fong Nan looked at her with contempt, and when passing a corner, suddenly, a zombie pounced on her, and the three of them were shocked, but it was too late to retreat. Fong Nan was the fastest to react, and immediately stuck the knife in the teeth of the police zombie, and the Poison Island in the back reacted and directly pierced the zombie with a wooden knife. It all happened so suddenly. Who would have thought that just at the turn, there was a zombie standing there, and with the dim light, the three of them had just walked here and the zombie pounced. This is also Fong Nan's nerve reaction fast enough, otherwise, the back of Nakoka Asami and Poison Island Tsubasa will be pounced on or even bitten. It's really dangerous just now. Okay, let's find the arsenal. Fong Nan breathed a sigh of relief and then said to Asami Nakoka, the arsenal is on the basement floor, and at the end of the corridor is a staircase where you can go down. Asami Nakoka nodded sheepishly. Then the three people continued to go deeper, the length of the corridor, about 20 meters. On the left is the office area, on the right is a variety of utility rooms. Fortunately, in these places, the doors are closed. The three people try not to make a sound, even if there are zombies inside, they can't notice. In this way, the three people came to the stairs, and the three people along the stairs came to the first floor of the underground, but around the corner, they saw a scene that was not so beautiful. There are so many zombies here? Fong Nan raised an eyebrow, a little surprised. The basement floor was very spacious, almost as big as half a basketball court, of which 8 zombies in police uniforms were wandering aimlessly, which was more than the top of the first floor. So far, they had also encountered 2, one of which was still trapped in the office area. It should be that when the zombie crisis broke out, these people wanted to come and get guns, and before they could open the door, they were bitten by zombies outside. Poison Island's eyes were flat, his body was close to Fong Nan's whispered words, and the warm breath kept hitting Fong Nan's ear pinna. Fong Nan was a little itchy, looked at the Poisonous Island that had no reaction, and had to take a deep breath to calm down. Why do you say that? Asami Nakoka asked. The key to that door is still stuck in the keyhole, and it's easy to think of. Poison Island Tsunako pointed to the thick white silver gate not far away and said in a reasonable tone, it's really worthy of being a Poison Island classmate. Nakoka Asami admired this beautiful girl high school student with a paralyzed face, obviously looking like a beautiful face that can eat everywhere, but she has to rely on strength to speak. For this kind of person, what else can she do? She can only send knees. You wait here, and they'll be handed over to me. Fong Nan moved his shoulders. From the morning to now, he had not exercised well. Poison Island Tsunako had no opinion. She knew Fong Nan's strength. This bit of zombie for him did not pose any threat, but Nakoka Asami looked at Fong Nan's distant back with some concern. Fong Nan walked down the stairs step by step, without deliberately controlling the force, so the footsteps were very clear. The 8 zombies reacted as soon as they heard it, and they all became agitated. One after another, zombies had bulging and dry eyes, their skin color was dry and gray, they all had wounds of different degrees on their bodies, and even a few zombies had some blood and flesh left in their mouths that could not be swallowed, which looked disgusting. Woohoo, ho ho. 8 zombies rushed over in a strange posture. Let's make a quick decision, Fong Nan said to himself. His calm face did not show any emotion, and the samurai sword was gently picked up by his right hand, as if there was no pressure at all. And it's true, only waiting for the first zombie to rush to the front, Fong Nan did not retreat, took a step forward, and then slashed down. This knife, Fong Nan did not use his full strength, but the strength was also very terrifying, enough to split this zombie from the head to the crotch in 2, and suddenly the disgusting rotten organs spilled on the ground. Fong Nan's eyes looked at all this indifferently. At this time the second zombie attacked, only to see his wrist turn, and then the arm was gently lifted, and the head of the second zombie was also cut off. With 2 light knives, Fong Nan solved the 2 zombies, and the consumption could be said to be negligible. After all, his physical strength had also been strengthened. The next 6 zombies were not a problem, and less than a minute later, Fong Nan stood in the middle of several corpses, calmly wiped the blade clean, and then slowly closed the knife. At the corner of the stairs, Poison Island Tsunako and Nakoka Asami also walked down at this time, but Asami Nakoka looked at the various scarlet things on the ground with a look of disgust, even if she was used to seeing various corpses by the police, and she had a disgusting impulse at the moment. However, Poison Island Schwanzi had long been accustomed to coming to Fong Nan's side, and his brow did not wrinkle. Episode 32. Asami Nakoka immediately trotted to Fong Nan's side, looking at the blood on the ground. She frowned a good-looking brow, covered her nose, and a pair of big eyes looked at Fong Nan non-stop, as if she was looking at a rare treasure. "Classmate Fong Nan, your kendo is also too powerful," Asami Nakoka said sincerely. In one shot, in less than a minute, 7 zombies were solved, and the atmosphere did not breathe. "It's okay." Fong Nan looked at her, then turned and walked toward the iron gate. In the keyhole of the iron door lock, the key is still inserted in it, and they only need to twist it to open, which of course is opened by Asami Nakoka, a professional policeman, who knows if there will be other protective measures in this arsenal. Asami Nakoka twisted the key, and with a crisp click sound from the door lock, the door to the arsenal was officially opened. The weapons here are also too rich. Do those people in the government department want to start a war? The 3 of them walked in, and the lamp inside had been glowing for 24 hours, so when the door opened, they were greeted by a wall full of guns and weapons. The middle wall is full of rifles, the right wall is a pistol, and the left one is even more exaggerated. There is actually a light machine gun, some cabinets, there are throwing bombs and other things, even body armor helmets. It can be said that there is everything. In addition to the size of the 3 people, Fong Nan took the lead and picked up a rifle. The thickness and metallic texture made his eyes shine. "We hurry up, find the right weapons for ourselves, and try to take them all away." Fong Nan looked at the 2 women and said that these hot weapons were a great help to him, as well as to people like Gao Changshe who had almost zero combat effectiveness. And don't forget that there was a hidden gun genius in the small team, and these things would help a lot. No problem." Poison Island and Asami Nakoka nodded, then walked towards the weapons they were interested in. Fong Nan was not far behind. He went to the place where the rifles were stored, and counted down. There were 6 rifles, which for a gun control country, these weapons can completely deter most criminals. Fong Nan roughly looked at these rifles, then removed all the rifles on them, and by the way, in the cabinet below, found a large number of rifle bullets, but a new problem appeared. Rifles and other weapons can be transported to the vehicle, but the bullets are not light. Just as Fong Nan was thinking about how many bullets to take, the system's prompt tone suddenly came from his ear. Ding! Bullet items can be stored in the system repository. Deposited in a system repository? It's wonderful, the system you are forcing me to empty this place. Fong Nan was stunned, and then his heart was overjoyed. His eyes looked at the boxes of bullets that were going to glow. At the critical moment, where the system was the best, knowing that he encountered difficulties, he took the initiative to come forward to help. Poison Island and Asami Nakoka also noticed Fong Nan's strange appearance, but they did not ask, but they were still picking and choosing weapons. Later, Fong Nan greeted Tsushima Tsunako and Asami Nakoka, and transported the rifles to the SUV outside. Of course, there was no bullet left, and put them into the system warehouse, a total of about 1,000 rounds, some of which were machine guns. Then there are some grenade smoke and other bomb throwers, and some time bombs and the like. Oh yes, there are more than a dozen drones, all for reconnaissance, so it is very exquisite and small. In short, Fong Nan has scavenged clean. What should be taken, what should not be taken is still taken. Good things are not afraid of too much, they are afraid of not enough. It can be said that the geese have plucked their hair, and it is no more so. Finally, Fong Nan walked to the light machine gun. His brow frowned slightly. This machine gun looked the most powerful and domineering. Don't think about it, lethality and efficiency are not comparable to other firearms, let alone cold weapons. Such a big killer, Fong Nan does not want to give up, but what way to take it? The trunk of the SUV cannot put this big guy. If you have to install it, you can refer to the war movie in the movie and install the machine gun on the roof of the car, but helplessly, Fong Nan will not have the knowledge of car modification, and there is no tool here. Just when Fong Nan was at a loss, someone came over and tapped her on the shoulder. "What's wrong with classmate Fong Nan? What are you thinking?" Fong Nan turned her head and found that it was Asami Nakoka, a female policeman, who couldn't help but be bright when she saw her changed her equipment. At this time, Nakoka Asami wore a bulletproof vest outside the light blue uniform on the upper body, but her mature figure could not be covered. Her arms were also wearing elbow pads, the dark gray helmet may not have been adjusted, some loose and crooked, and a belt was tied around the waist, which just outlined her slender waist. A pistol and a spare magazine sandwiched in it. There was no change in the lower body, or the sexy hip skirt and black stockings, but the difference was that there was a pistol and a short knife tied to the thigh. The whole person looked a little heroic, standing in front of Fong Nan with an expression that wanted to be praised. "How's it going?" "I'm in this one." Asami Nakoka saw Fong Nan looking at herself. Although she was a little shy in her heart, she still turned around generously and looked at Fong Nan expectantly with her eyes. Good value for money, Fong Nan replied in a light tone. The image of Asami Nakoka did give him a fresh feeling, but only so. After all, it was an old straight man. What? Asami Nakoka puffed up her cheeks. Fong Nan, we have done it, how are you? At this time, Poison Island Tsubasa also came over. Fong Nan turned around again and looked over, but strangely enough, there was nothing on Poison Island, not even a gun, or a short skirt uniform with a wooden knife from Tingmei Academy. Noticing the doubt in Fong Nan's eyes, the sight of Poison Island's body, Fong Nan saw that on the inside of his thigh, there were actually 3 exquisitely crafted short knives, whether it was used for close combat or as darts. Sister Poison Island, can you just use these 3 knives? For safety reasons, why don't you bring another pistol? Fong Nan took out a small pistol and a box of bullets from the pistol cabinet next to him. He knew that Poison Island Tsunako's kendo was very strong, but the situation was changing rapidly, and some things had to be prevented. Poison Island looked at the pistol that Fong Nan handed over, and looked at Fong Nan seriously before reaching out and taking it. Fong Nan smiled satisfactorily, then turned around and continued to think about how to get rid of the light machine gun problem. At this time, Poison Island Tsunako and Nakoka Asami found that the entire arsenal was empty. As long as a small part of the useless things were still left, they couldn't help but look at each other, and they both saw the surprise in each other. Classmate Fong Nan, did you empty this arsenal? Episode 33. It's simple. I can do it. After the two silently spat out a bit of Minami's greed, Asami Nakoka stood up and patted her chest and said, Can you do it? Fong Nan looked at her in surprise. Yes, I see that this light machine gun has a snap configuration, which can obviously be loaded on the roof, and before I was on the car, I also found that your SUV was reserved for loading. That is your car, don't you know? Asami Nakoka said with a smile. I didn't pay much attention, but there are no tools here. What are you going to do? Fong Nan thought for a moment, and seemed to be a little impressed that there was indeed a bulge in the middle of the SUV roof, as if it could be opened. It can only be said that it is worthy of the military anti-collision car produced by the system, and it is thoughtful to think. Without tools, your roof can be adjusted. Don't you know how advanced your car is? Asami Nakoka stared at Fong Nan with a suspicious face, as if to say, the car could not be stolen by you, right? Subsequently, the light machine gun equipment task was naturally handed over to Asami Nakoka, and in the process of loading, what Fong Nan did not expect was that this female policeman had such a deep knowledge of this aspect of automobile machinery, and he did not know some things about the use of SUVs, but he saw it at a glance in her eyes. This made Fong Nan feel unexpected. Originally thought that Asami Nakoka was a female police officer with a heavy sense of responsibility and liked to protect people, but he did not expect that there was such a talent for machinery. With the loading of the light machine gun completed, at this time, on the roof of this beast SUV, there was an extra light machine gun that could rotate 80 degrees, which was equivalent to adding sharp canine teeth to this beast, so that the appearance of the whole car seemed to have been qualitatively improved, and it also had a certain deterrent effect on some malicious survivors. The 3 of them completely removed all the things that could be used in this police station arsenal, and the trunk could be said to be stuffed. It is worth noting that Fong Nan did not load all the bullets into the system warehouse here, but left some of them outside. After all, the system cannot be exposed. Armed, the next step is to find something that can make noise. The 3 people got into the car and returned according to the same way, and on the way, Fong Nan tried to find out if there was a sound shop or the like. Generally there were a lot of audio in this kind of shop. Unfortunately, there was no such shop all the way, which made Fong Nan a little disappointed. Brother Fong Nan, can you see the alarm clock? At this moment, Poison Island, who had been sitting quietly in the co-pilot, suddenly pointed out the window and said. Fong Nan looked in the direction pointed by Poison Island, which was a shop specializing in selling clocks, and from the glass, he could see that there were a lot of clocks and watches inside. Fong Nan can't help but be dazzled. The alarm clock is also a good choice, although the sound is a little small, but the number is enough, and it can be timed, but it is a good alternative. Then Fong Nan leaned over the SUV and parked the car in front of the clock meter store. After the car stopped, the 3 of them got out of the car together, entered the watch shop, and looked at the variety of clocks and watches in the store, from expensive to low cost, and the sound of ticking in the store could not help but make the 3 people feel as if they were in a time tunnel. There are so many clocks and watches here. Asami Nakoka muttered. Don't be in a daze. Fong Nan said a word into the depths of the store. These are not what he needs. He wants an alarm clock. Fong Nan walked all the way to the last row of shelves in the depths, saw the island character of alarm clock. His eyes lit up, and there was a shelf full of alarm clocks. That's totally enough, Fong Nan said with joy in his heart, and then began to greet Asami Nakoka and Poison Island, who were still wandering, to come and help move the alarm clock. These alarm clocks were all packed and taken away by Fong Nan, and the number was probably more than 30. After loading the car, the SUV started again. This time it was well prepared, and if all went well, they wouldn't be in too much danger on this trip to the viaduct. In this way, the SUV was driven by Fong Nan and drove back to the direction of the viaduct, and on the way, Poison Island Tsuko and Nikoka Asami turned the alarm clock to spare according to Fong Nan's meaning. At the same time, Fong Nan is single-minded in communicating with the system, because he also has a plan, that is, to strengthen the SUV. This decision was born when Fong Nan was equipped with light machine guns. The car itself is well defended. With the upgrading of weapons, it has undoubtedly become a big killer, as a tool necessary for moving or escaping in the future. Whether it is for better safety and security, or for future use, Fong Nan believes that it is necessary to strengthen this military anti-collision SUV. System, I want to strengthen this military anti-collision SUV. How many reinforcement points do I need? Fong Nan, who has more than 800 reinforcement points, can be said to be a small fortune, and the number of points consumed by this enhancement should be drizzle. For him, he should not pay attention to it. However, the system's answer almost made Fong Nan not drive the car into the ditch again. Ding! To strengthen the military collision avoidance SUV, 400 reinforcement points are required. Is it strengthened? The sound of the system sounded, but it reverberated in Fong Nan's ears for a long time, and he immediately instigated it. It's really too expensive. 400 boost points. Not half. Should I be grateful to Dade? Fong Nanren was stupid, worried that there were still people in the car, so he had no expression on his face, but who knew the real pain of his heart. This sent out, but it really went back to the pre-liberation period overnight, not long after the well-off, and returned to the poor class. Classmate Fong Nan, what's wrong with you? How is your face suddenly white and suddenly blue? Is it uncomfortable? Asami Nikoka in the back of the car was adjusting the alarm clock, noticed that the front of Fong Nan's face was not right, and immediately asked, which also attracted the attention of the co-pilot, Toshijima Tsunako. Nothing. Nothing, just a little hungry. Fong Nan shook his head and reluctantly smiled. Is Fong Nan that hungry? He was heartbroken. System, enhanced military-grade collision avoidance SUV. After only 5 seconds, Fong Nan gritted his teeth and made up his mind. Wasn't it half the reinforcement point? If you can really turn this car into a mobile fortress, it is really worth the money. And don't forget, the 2 silver chests that are about to be refreshed on the viaduct. You know, there are a total of 1,500 enhancement points in it. As long as he got those 2 silver treasure chests, Fong Nan would not lose money. Consume 400 boosters to enhance military collision avoidance SUVs. Strengthening. As the system prompt sound fell, Fong Nan, who was sitting in the car, obviously felt that the whole car seemed to have undergone some slight change, and only Fong Nan noticed that neither Toshishima Noriko nor Asami Nikoka, who was sitting in the car, did not notice anything. If Fong Nan was outside the car at this time, he would definitely be able to see that the SUV that was originally stained with a lot of blood and traces had become a new look, as if it had just left the factory, and the doors, glass, materials, and color seemed to have changed at this moment, although the general shape had not changed. But it could be found from the details. Not only that, the engine also made a bang sound, which was obviously a speed gear, but the speed was inexplicably accelerated. If, in the beginning, only this military anti-collision SUV could travel freely on the battlefield, it could now run amok. Episode 34. The horsepower of the SUV has become so strong. Fong Nan was secretly shocked. Only when he was driving the car, he could accurately feel how much the horsepower of the SUV had changed. It was like changing a heart. Ding! Military collision avoidance SUV has been enhanced. Military anti-collision SUV. Driver, Fong Nan, permanently bound. Vehicle loss, 100, loss 0 times wasted. Body strength, increased by 300%. Vehicle power, 400% increase. Amplification effect. The driver is within 10 meters of the vehicle. The nerve response is +5. Description. This is a battlefield monster that can easily crash through even heavy reinforced concrete walls. With the completion of the reinforcement, Fong Nan saw the data of the enhancement of this SUV, and when he saw the amplification effect, he couldn't help but be shocked. Neural response. Before he used the primary nerve potion, strengthened once, the 5 senses and stress response have doubled. Do not underestimate this double, often in battle, because the reaction is slow, and lose life. So the improvement of this ability can be said to be more helpful than the enhancement of strength. To put it in layman's terms, it is Spider-Man's spider induction, although Fong Nan's 5 senses now can't do the sharpness like Spider-Man, but in the long run, he is confident that he will be able to reach that height. This strengthening, it can be said that it has been earned. The performance of the SUV has not only been upgraded, but also he can get an increase, and the 400 reinforcement points are indeed not a loss. At this time, the newly reinforced SUV is about to reach the viaduct. Fong Nan also saw the viaduct, and the alarm clock has just been adjusted at this time. Fong Nan drove the SUV to the intersection of the viaduct, and the road in front of them was crowded with cars. At this time they were very close to the viaduct, and the scene on the bridge gradually appeared in the sight of the 3 people. Sure enough, the crowding of vehicles blocked the road of this bridge, and a large number of people, after being attacked by zombies, made this place an extremely dangerous place. Fong Nan stared ahead with both eyes, and said slowly. At the entrance to the New Bird Viaduct, the spacious driveway is blocked by many vehicles, and vaguely, you can see the constant shaking zombies between the vehicles, and the smell of burning and blood can be smelled in the air. The only thing to be thankful for was that the rightmost emergency passage was not blocked, as Asami Nakoka had said, and that was the passage left for the military to drive in, and if nothing else, they could pass directly from there. The tragic situation on the viaduct made the two women in the car silent, and the situation on the viaduct could not be cleared even if an army came, only the entire bridge was blown up. It's a little bad, but we don't have to fight zombies. Fong Nan was relieved twice, and then continued, wait until we detonate the vehicle on the far left of the viaduct. The explosion is loud enough to lead most of the zombies from the bridge for us, and then we rush in from the emergency passage on the right, but before that, arrange some things first. Set up what? Asami Nakoka said curiously. I took all the dozen drones in the police station's arsenal, and then we put each drone on an alarm clock, and a pack of bombs, and dropped one at intervals, and when we passed, we detonated it directly. Fong Nan roared. Fong Nan just wants to use a drone to send the alarm clock and bomb to the middle of the bridge, and then the alarm to attract a group of zombies to gather, and then use the bomb to solve them. In this way, the density of zombies will be greatly reduced, the number will not be too much, and most importantly, this method is not dangerous. The whole process of drone control, bomb long-range detonation can be. Fong Nan's meaning, Poison Island Sunako and Nakoka Asami understood in an instant. Looking at the things piled up on both sides of Nakoka Asami, they couldn't help but show a trance expression. The three then began to tie bombs and alarm clocks to each drone, which of course was set to make sure the drone flew onto the viaduct before it started ringing. 14 drones soon tied up the alarm clock and bombs. The space in the car is large enough. 14 drones spread the rotor, can also be put down, but also fortunately Fong Nan before the big scratch, otherwise these remote control bombs are really not enough. I haven't played drones. I don't understand. Looking at the drones that were all prepared in the car, Poison Island and Asami Nakoka spoke in unison, and then brushed their eyes together to look at Fong Nan. Fong Nan shrugged. He had only been in contact with drones a few times before crossing, but now he was the only one who could. Well, I'll control it remotely, and the bomb will be handed over to Miss Nakoka. Is that okay? Fong Nan went from the driver's seat to the back seat, then opened the skylight, and as soon as he looked up, he saw the handle and trigger of the light machine gun. Leave it to me. Asami Nakoka patted her money and handed over the first drone. Fong Nan put the drone away, activated the switch, and immediately spun under his remote control, but it was too hard, almost crashing into the telephone pole next to him. Sure enough, I haven't touched it for a long time and I'm still a little rusty, Fong Nan said to himself, and then began to be familiar with the control of this drone. There was a previous foundation. Within a few minutes Fong Nan basically grasped the feel of the control, and even could make many professional actions. Okay, let's move on. Fong Nan pursed his lips, and under his control, the drone quickly climbed up and flew towards the viaduct, crossing several roads and finally flying into the inside of the viaduct. Fong Nan was controlled by the video footage cast by the remote control, surrounded by the reinforced supports of the viaduct, and from a high place, Fong Nan also saw the situation of the viaduct, far worse than they had seen in the distance. Bells ringing bells. The drone flew into the viaduct area, and the alarm sounded, and in this quiet area, it seemed very abrupt, and the zombie swarm heard the bell, and all of them became agitated, and even a low roar could be heard on the south side of the Fong. The drone flew to a front area of the viaduct and then landed, and then the surrounding zombies rushed upwards desperately, and dozens of zombies instantly flooded the drone. At the same time, there were bells in the brain and bombs. Fong Nan's half body was exposed on the roof of the car, and at the same time as the video screen terminated, he checked the refresh time of the silver treasure chest. Refresh time, 5 minutes and 43 seconds. 5 minutes left. Fong Nan stared at the viaduct not far away. His expression was calm and serious. No matter what, he had to get his hands on the 2 silver treasure chests. Episode 35. It's less than 5 minutes before the silver chest refreshes. Fong Nan stood in the skylight on the roof of the car, looking at the New Bird viaduct not far away, paying attention to the refresh time of the system at any time. According to this time, Fong Nan can completely rush over the bridge, because the zombies in the front part have been attracted by the first drone, but Fong Nan still wants to wait for the treasure chest to refresh before driving in case he misses the refresh location. After all, the overall scale of the New Bird viaduct is not small, and the road area of the entire bridge is strictly speaking. It is the refresh area of the silver treasure chest, and the ghost knows where the refresh location will be when the time comes. It worked. Asami Nakoka immediately said in surprise. Fong Nan crouched back into the car, and these drones, he planned to wait another minute to release the Poison Island in the car, and Asami Nakoka saw the first drone, met their expectations, and they were all happy. Fong Nan nodded slightly, but there are still a lot of zombies at the head of the bridge. We must create some movement on the far left to divert them, otherwise we have not yet arrived. They heard our movements, and blocked the entrance to the emergency passage. Poison Island nodded deeply, and his good-looking brow frowned slightly, but along the way, they didn't find something like a loudspeaker, and the alarm clock was too small and inappropriate. Asami Nakoka was also distressed, and she couldn't think of any good way to do it. Fong Nan looked at the expression of the two people. The corners of his mouth were slightly raised, and his eyes moved to Nakoka Asami's body. Actually, I have already thought of this. Where are the cars at the entrance? As long as we detonate one of them, I think the movement is big enough. When the second daughter listened, her eyes lit up in an instant, which was a good idea. And, just now I was using a telescope on it and I saw that just on the far left of the bridge, there was a van with oil leaking. And we just had to shoot the oil drum in the distance. Fong Nan took out a pair of telescopes from behind and shook them. This pair of telescopes was one of the rewards for completing the achievement mission in the academy before, and now it finally had a place to use. Really? Asami Nakoka looked excited, immediately took the telescope and looked for it, and sure enough, he saw an oil-leaking van at the location that Fong Nan said. In this case, it only takes a little spark to cause an explosion. Neither Poison Island nor Sister Poison Island has ever touched a firearm, let alone hit a target that far away. So the task of detonating the van is given to Miss Nakoka. Fong Nan's eyes flashed with an inexplicable light, and he said to Asami Nakoka. The tone was as if a commander was entrusting a heavy responsibility to a soldier. Asami Nakoka listened and almost reflexively saluted, but quickly shook her head. But I haven't fired a few shots. Asami Nakoka's face twisted. To tell the truth, as an ordinary county and city police station policeman, the opportunity to shoot all year round, 2 slaps can be counted. If it were not for this superior mission, coupled with the small number of people at that time, she would not be able to turn on the front line. But there was no way. In the end, under the attentive and encouraging eyes of Fong Nan and Poison Island Tsubasa, she just had to harden her scalp, who made her a big sister. This time it was Nakoka's turn to stand in a chair and drill out the skylight, where she could see the full picture of the SUV, and she looked at the body of the SUV and was stunned, but quickly came back to her senses. Fong Nan pulled the backrest underneath, successfully opened a hole from the car to the trunk, groped through it, and it took a while to pull out a sophisticated new M4 and hand it to Asami Nakoka. However, when Fong Nan inadvertently looked up, he almost couldn't help but spew out a nosebleed, and this skirt was also too short for him. Asami Nakoka's figure is already good, not only rich in money, but also invincible in beautiful legs, and it is difficult to hide her amazing charm when she is in contact with it, let alone such a posture at this time. What a wonderful woman. Fong Nan sighed, then quickly turned his face away, and then looked at his eyes and nose, and stared ahead with his nose. On the skylight, Asami Nakoka revealed a small half of her body, and it took a while to set up the rifle and start aiming, and under the full expectation of Fong Nan and Poison Island Tsukiko, Asami Nakoka said something. I'm going to shoot. The next second, only to hear a bang, Fong Nan immediately stared at the oil-spilled van not far away. Only 3 seconds passed, not even a splash, not to mention the car explosion, the sound of the fierce and so on, but because of the sound of gunfire, it instantly attracted the zombies around them. Sorry, the first time I was a little nervous, rest assured, I will do it again. This time I can definitely hit. Asami Nakoka lowered her head and looked at Fong Nan, a little embarrassed, and wanted to pat her chest, but she couldn't shoot with a gun in both hands, so she had to express her determination with a serious face. You don't have to be nervous, you can actually shoot. Fong Nan gave himself a suggestion. Anyway, the silver treasure chest refresh time. There are still more than 2 minutes or so. The time is still enough. That is, wait for the remote control drone to catch up, but this is harmless. Then, Asami Nakoka continued to pose, take a deep breath, and began to aim, although because of the first shot just now, there were 7 or 8 zombies next to the SUV at this time, pulling the body of the car without a brain, but it did not affect her at all. Brother Fong Nan, you look at the bridge there. And just as Asami Nakoka was about to pull the trigger, suddenly, the co-pilot's Poison Island Sama made an exclamation sound, and the emotion was stronger than ever. Hearing this, Fong Nan instantly turned his face away. A pair of dark eyes looked at the bridge, fixed his eyes, his brow slowly wrinkled, and so did Asami Nakoka. The camera turned to look at the bridgehead area on the other side, with a serious look on his face, only to see, what came into sight was the devastated bridgehead, and on the right, on the road lawn about 20 meters away, where a yellow bus was parked. It seemed a little abrupt, but only so. It could not attract Fong Nan's attention. The reason that made Fong Nan pay attention was that around the yellow bus car, there were 4 off-road vehicles, 2 of which were still speeding around, crushing all the zombies that came nearby. This gang appeared so blatantly around the viaduct that Fong Nan had not yet discovered it, thinking that it had come after him. Miss Nakoka, wait a minute, don't shoot first. Fong Nan signaled Tomi Nakoka to come back first. Just that shot. He didn't know if the gang heard it. If not, it was naturally all right. If he heard it, it would be a bit troublesome. Because that gang doesn't look like a good stubble. Because the target was too far away, the human eye could only see a vague shadow, so Fong Nan took a telescope to look at it. As soon as the camera was pulled, Fong Nan immediately saw clearly the real situation of the gang. In Fong Nan's line of sight, the gang had a total of 5 cars, a bus, and 4 off-road vehicles, and the number of people seemed to be quite large, because on the bus, there seemed to be about 10 people, and there were many in the off-road vehicles. The number of people looks like a lot, Fong Nan said lightly. This is naturally said to Poison Island Tsunako to listen. As for Nakoka Asami, with the M4 double mirror can also be seen. Huh? I didn't expect that guy to be there, which I didn't expect. At this time, Fong Nan's tone was a little surprised, and after the camera moved to the yellow bus car, he saw an unexpected person. Episode 36. Who? Poison Island Sama wondered. Too far away she couldn't see clearly, and when she heard that it was someone Fong Nan knew, she was suddenly a little curious. A teacher in the 3rd grade, a Sven scum. Fong Nan pulled the corner of his mouth and smiled. The killing intent in his eyes was fleeting. No wonder he seemed to have forgotten something after he left the Tingmei garden. It turned out that he had forgotten to take care of this beast. I thought that Shido Koichi would die in the academy because of Fong Nan's change of timeline, but he didn't think that the vitality was so tenacious. Not only survived, but also seemed to join some team. Not only that, but there were also more than a dozen students from the area of Zitinghao. As for the others, Fong Nan casually glanced at the situation inside the bus car, then moved to the people on the off-road vehicle and shook his head. These people he did not know. I know these people. However, at this time Asami Nakoka opened her mouth, and there was something wrong in her tone. Fong Nan and Poison Island Tsunako looked at each other, and there was a hint of surprise in their eyes, especially Fong Nan, who did not expect that there were people in the gang who he knew, and there were also people that Asami Nakoka knew. Is it your friend? Fong Nan looked at her. How can that be? Asami Nakoka had a look of disgust on her face, and a look of disgust appeared on her snow-white face, and then she said, if I could, I would hate to kill these bastards with my own hands. The first time Fong Nan saw such an Nakoka Asami, he couldn't help but have more understanding and curiosity about her. What kind of person was that gang that could make Asami Nakoka, who had such a good temper, couldn't help but have a murderous heart? Who are they? Poison Island Tsubasa said curiously. Before the zombie crisis broke out, I happened to be investigating them, and those people were all from a security company, but before, they were all mixed up on the road, their hands and feet were very unclean, and they had done all kinds of harmful things. Later, after the whitewashing transformation, the establishment of a security company, perhaps Fong Nan and Poison Island classmates you have not been in contact with the underworld, do not know their disposition. These people are black. After the transformation of whitewashing, it is impossible to abide by the law to keep to themselves. The police have long noticed them. Asami Nakoka said indignantly, the fingers holding the gun tightly, somewhat pale. Fong Nan nodded his head very insightfully. After all, the two worlds were human beings, and he also had some understanding, but the poisonous island was not strange, a calm batch. I just didn't expect that Teacher Wisteria could actually mix with this kind of guy, which is really surprising. There is nothing surprising about such a guy. He can survive in any environment. What kind of person Koichi Wisteria is, although Fong Nan can't yet know the roots, but it is enough to know that he is a beast in human skin, and it is not surprising that such a person can mix with these people in the end of the moral collapse. You know, in the original anime, Koichi Wisteria first rubbed on Takagi's car, and then wanted to be the leader, and in the end, at the cost of sacrificing several students, he came to Takagi's parents' stronghold and wanted to come to him. This kind of person has come all the way and lived to the extreme. Although Fong Nan thinks that he is similar, he will never deceive his companions and pull each other as a stepping footboard. However, this was a pain for the students who trusted Koichi Wisteria. Fong Nan's eyes were flat as he moved the camera, and in his line of sight he saw 2 male students, covered in blood and crawling on the ground with rolling belts, while the rest of the male students were cautiously vigilant around, serving the people of the security company. Not only that, but he also saw that in an off-road vehicle, a man who was obviously the boss was holding 2 girls in student uniforms in the car, and although the 2 girls were smiling reluctantly, they still did not have a seizure. Don't think about it. This is one of the chips for Koichi Wisteria to join this gang, and it is right to think about it. It is the end of the world, and the future survival will become more and more difficult. Food, territory, resources, and women will be the most valuable things. Fong Nan is not surprised by this. This world is like this. It is not what kind of living method you want, but what kind of living method you are chosen. Moreover, these people also look like fierce characters, one by one fierce gods and evil looks. Either there are scars on the face, or tattoos everywhere, not chicken crown heads, or long bangs non-mainstream, completely a rogue look. No wonder Nakoka Asami will not have a good face for these people. However, there is a saying that these people are still very dangerous. These people are relatively tall and powerful types, but this is not the most important. The important thing is that these people actually have guns in their hands. About a dozen people, each with a gun in his hand. Fong Nan counted carefully, 16 people, a total of 12 submachine guns, 2 pistols, and these are all Fong Nan can see. If there is no weapon scavenged from the police station before, I am afraid that in the face of this gang, Fong Nan will also turn around and leave. At this point, Fong Nan also saw almost everything. Oshimazu's hateful guy is actually here. Asami Nakoka suddenly had a burst of anger. The mature figure had put the bulletproof vest up, and now it was even more spectacular. But she still did not realize that she was not complete when she said it. Her pretty face was angry and her cheeks were crimson, and when she saw Fong Nan, she also glanced at him angrily. This made Fong Nan, who was lying on the gun, feel very innocent. What was wrong with this? Fong Nan was about to raise the telescope again, wondering if he had missed any important information, but one hand quickly snatched the telescope away. Fong Nan is not allowed to read, otherwise he will learn badly. Asami Nakoka puffed up the telescope and stuffed it into his bulletproof vest and in the gap in his lower abdomen. Fong Nan shrugged his shoulders, full of puzzlement. That gang is quite normal. What did they do to make this police lady so angry? Ding. Silver chest refreshed. Ding. Silver chest refreshed. Just as Fong Nan squinted his eyes and thought about the next action, the system prompt sounded coldly in his ears, which made his thoughts interrupted, and his true feelings were suddenly excited. Meanwhile, Poison Island Tsunako looked at Fong Nan. What is the purpose of those people at the entrance of the viaduct? She was not interested in observing those people, just looking at them for a rough time. Moreover, Poison Island Tsukiko had an inexplicable trust in Fong Nan's judgment, and this trust had been there since the school encounter. Episode 37. The refresh of the silver treasure chest made Fong Nan on the car a little excited. Hearing Poison Island Sama's words, Fong Nan suppressed the excitement in his heart and recalled the picture he had just seen with the telescope. Most of us, like us, want to go over the viaduct. Just now he saw the 2 speeding off-road vehicles. It seemed to be checking the situation above the viaduct. It was not difficult to guess. Probably like them, wanted to break through the bridge. Otherwise, Fong Nan could not think of the reason why those people would risk their lives and haunt near the bridge. I agree with what Fong Nanshua said. At this time, Asami Nakoka, whose blush had only subsided, looked at Fong Nan with a serious face, and she didn't know what to do now. Did she need to use a gun to detonate the vehicle not far away? Let's observe for a few minutes, and if they're really going to break through the viaduct and someone gives us a way to explore the way first, that would be great. Fong Nan sneered a few times, although the silver treasure chest has been refreshed, but may as well wait a few minutes to see if anyone uses cannon fodder for them. For these people, Fong Nan will not feel guilty at all. What if they change their minds and take a long detour? Poison Island asked again. Then they can only be forced. Fong Nan smiled and squinted, his eyes swept over the zombies at the head of the bridge, and he thought about something in his heart. Poison Island nodded thoughtfully, and according to Fong Nan's meaning, she and Asami Nakoka waited quietly. But it was also true that at this time, on the side of Koichi Wisteria, there was a debate within them. On the grass near the viaduct, next to the bus, a few people who seemed to be able to talk gathered around discussing something. A few of the female students were serving them, such as pounding their waists and pinching their backs, and others were around to put on a whistle. I think it's better to rush directly from the bridge. With our firepower, it's no problem to rush over. And isn't there still an emergency passage? That's right, those disgusting monsters can't catch up with the car at all. Let's just drive over. There was a gunshot just now. Maybe it was on the opposite side. We went over and directly grabbed them. 2 typical characters with well-developed limbs and simple minds scolded and grinned, and when they spoke, the submachine gun in their hands was habitually pointed at others, and when they talked about robbing people, their eyes flashed with madness. Teacher Wisteria, what do you think? Among the people gathered around to discuss, a man who looked more gloomy opened his mouth. He was the second in command of the gang, except for the boss who was doing things in the car. He also had the most right to speak. The man's words fell, and everyone else brushed their heads in unison at the Sven man with his eyes. At this time, the image of Koichi Wisteria was much better than before, not so awkward. The striped suit on his body was also wiped clean, messy hair, repainted with hair wax, and dressed himself meticulously, all thanks to this group of people. In my opinion, I think it is irrational to cross the bridge. The situation of the new bird viaduct is unknown, there are many zombies, and it is very likely that our entire army will be destroyed. Koichi Wisteria lifted his glasses with his finger, his eyes flashed with a glint that belonged to the wisdom of his teacher's identity. He glanced at these people, a trace of disgust flashed in his eyes, but he hid it well and was not discovered, took a deep breath, and continued. I know that there is a country road that can reach the opposite side, and according to my estimation, the danger factor is not large. Koichi Wisteria's statement was so well-founded that no one else knew how to refute it, except for the 2 people who had just proposed rushing over the viaduct. If it weren't for the boss's command not to move you, labor would have hammered your glasses long ago. The 2 were indignant in their hearts. They had long been unhappy with Ziting Hiroichi, but they did not dare to move because of the majesty of the boss, and they were jealous in their hearts. Teacher Wisteria is a reader, and his courage must be small. That is, just now I went to see. The emergency passage is no problem at all. how much trouble it is to drive directly over. Although the two did not dare to move Koichi Wisteria, it was still no problem to aim at it. Hearing this, Wisteria Hiroshi's face suddenly darkened for a few minutes, and his fist under his sleeve tightened a little, but he did not dare to move, because he could not fight. The two sensed Koichi Wisteria's displeasure, but they did not dare to move, and they couldn't help but hum coldly and taunt a few words. Just when several people were unable to make a decision, the boss of the car who had finished his work, walked down with a bear's back, a rosy face, while wearing a trouser belt, while walking to this side. "We're just on the bridge, take a detour." The majesty of the boss made several people not refute it, but as the boss, he still opened his mouth to explain, "The situation on the bridge is unknown, there are so many cars, there must be a lot of zombies, and you dare to guarantee that the emergency passage is smooth throughout the whole process? If we are blocked in the middle, it will be death to greet us." The boss's voice was deep and slow, his voice was hoarse, and at the end, his eyes locked aggressively on the two people who refuted Koichi Wisteria. So far, no one has any objections. Not far away, 2 minutes had already passed, and Fong Nan was a little impatient. He was afraid that something was wrong with the silver treasure chest, and he wouldn't cry when the time came. But he didn't want to spare Koichi Wisteria's gang. What to do? They didn't seem to have any intention of crossing the bridge. Poison Island said. She took the telescope to look at, remembering the look of Koichi Wistero. Asami Nikoka also looked at Fong Nan, although she was the oldest, but somehow, Fong Nan always exuded a kind of leadership charm, making people unconsciously listen to the opinions of this teenager, even she, the policeman. In this world, some people just need a little help, so we. The corners of Fong Nan's mouth gradually lifted, and he said the thoughts in his heart one by one. He didn't want to let go of a pathfinding chess piece. It was best to kill Koichi Wisteria's perverted teacher, and Fong Nan's idea is also simple and rude. At this time, the group of Wisteria Koichi, although near the viaduct, due to the terrain, the zombies at the head of the bridge did not notice them, and occasionally there were 2 or 3 wandering zombies, which were also solved by these people with knives, so it was still safe. But you know, this is surrounded by a traffic artery, there are many vehicles, and the zombies around them are not in the minority. Once they are found by the zombie group, then they have only one way to go. This road is the viaduct, so how do we do it? Blowing up a car with a gun? It was Asami Nikoka who spoke. Fong Nan did not expect it to be her, and thought that the most troubled person would be her. After all, she was a policeman before, and he was going to do things with Poison Island Sunako. This is not feasible, they will find out, and it will be easy to be dragged into the water. We can only sneak near them, and then detonate a few cars at regular intervals. Fong Nan said, already picking up the samurai sword. We're going too. Asami Nikoka and Sunako Toshima glanced at each other. Fong Nan didn't think much of it, nodded slightly in agreement, and then the 3 of them got out of the car, went to the trunk to get 3 time bombs, and the stealth operation officially began. Episode 38. Fong Nan was the first to get out of the car. Looking at the several scattered zombies around him, he drew his knife and took a few random clicks. He solved all these zombies, and the system prompt sound also sounded, prompting him to get the reinforcement point to enter the account. A total of 407, harvest 7 points, mosquitoes are small and meat. Fong Nan sighed silently in his heart, but he still felt very satisfied when he first saw the reinforced SUV. In short, it was worth the money. The 3 of them opened the trunk and picked up some weapons to defend themselves, and Fong Nan stood next to them, watching the 2 women pick and choose, and occasionally swept their eyes over the new dynamics of the group of Wisteria Koichi in the distance. We sneak over and take 1 or 2 time bombs, and it's almost enough, not too much. Fong Nan looked at Asami Nikoka and was holding a pistol, and carrying an M4, rolling his eyes. They were secretly going to do things this time. Nikoka Asami took so much and couldn't use it at all. Maybe it might drag himself down, and then it would be more than worth the loss. Asami Nikoka listened, thought for a second, thought it was very reasonable. Oh, put the rifle back into the car, just took a pistol, and a few spare magazines. In general, there is no restraint in action. Fong Nan nodded. At this time Poison Island Sunako was also ready. She and Fong Nan originally mainly relied on kendo, and did not intend to be tough with those people head-on, so there was nothing to take. Alright, let's go. Fong Nan looked at the surrounding terrain, nodded to the 2, pointed in the direction of the southeast, and the 3 began to sneak among the blocked cars, targeting the road behind Koichi Wisteria's gang. You know, all around our traffic roads, all of them are blocked cars. As long as the road behind the gang detonates bombs, the surrounding zombies will quickly smell. At that time, a large number of zombies are not what they can deal with. The only way to live is the viaduct. The result is naturally imaginable. Fong Nan was still quite far away from the ones of the Wisteria Koichi, plus the 3 of them were shuttling through a road full of cars, and the average person couldn't notice it at all. Even if they saw it, they only skipped it and thought it was a zombie. Boom. Fong Nan moved quickly with Poison Island Sunako and Asami Nikoka, watching the oncoming 3-headed zombie make a hissing sound and running. His body was stunned. The samurai sword brought a cold light. In the blink of an eye, the heads of the 3 zombies all flew up, and the whole action looked very clean and neat. In such a situation, they encountered a lot after getting off the bus, and Fong Nan solved it. No matter how many times Saeko and Asami Nakoka had seen them, every time they saw them, they would be amazed at the mastery of Fong Nan's swordplay. They seemed to have made a decision to leave. Asami Nakoka looked at the gang in the lawn and said. Fong Nan heard this and glanced obliquely at the past, and sure enough, the group of Wisteria Koichi seemed to be setting off in full gear, and it seemed that they had given up the idea of passing over the bridge. I think it's almost here. You are about 10 meters apart. Put a bomb. I will help you watch. Fong Nan retracted his sight, and after casually killing a zombie, he glanced around at the surrounding environment of this place. There were already many zombies around this place, and there was a residential building not far away, thinking that the number of zombies was not in the minority, which was very suitable for placing bombs. Good. Poison Island and Asami Nakoka nodded slightly, and then Poison Island took out a time bomb and began to set up the device in a car where Asami Nakoka had taught her before. Asami Nakoka's close combat ability is relatively poor, so Fong Nan follows her and goes to a farther place to plant a bomb. The two of them were very sharp. Even the first time the Poison Island Tsukiko also quickly completed the bomb setting, Fong Nan found that there are indeed a lot of zombies here. From getting off the car to now after placing the bomb, there are about 7 or 8 minutes. This time he has gained more than 30 points of strengthening points. That's it. Then let's go back the same way. Fong Nan and Asami Nakoka began to walk the same way. Poison Island Tsunako was already waiting for them in the same place. She naturally fixed the bomb, and then the three of them quickly returned to the same road. Fong Nan was actually a little anxious in his heart. After all, the silver treasure chest had been refreshed for nearly 8 minutes, and if something unexpected happened in the middle of the way and delayed the time, then he was really going crazy. They drove. Fong Nan and the three of them quickly returned to the car. Compared to when they went, the time was shortened a lot, but when they just returned to the car, they saw that on the grass in the distance, 4 off-road vehicles had started, and the bus was also slowly following behind, looking at the direction showing that they wanted to turn around and leave. Unfortunately, however, the area had already been planted with bombs by Fong Nan's 3 men. What a shame. The corner of Fong Nan's mouth raised a smile, with his handsome white facial features. I don't know. I thought it was the neighbor's sunshine big brother. He had a remote control in his hand, which was the remote control of the 2 time bombs, and as soon as he pressed it, the good drama would be staged immediately. Click, boom. Fong Nan pressed the remote control without a moment's hesitation. Almost at the same time, the 2 bombs placed suddenly exploded, and the fierce roar went straight into the sky, like rolling spring thunder reverberating and spreading around. Ding! Harvest 428 enhancement points. At the moment when the explosion sounded, Fong Nan's mind also sounded the system's prompt tone. The corners of Fong Nan's mouth revealed a smile, which he expected. After all, the bomb and the vehicle exploded together with great power. Those zombies were already gathered around. This explosion directly destroyed a large piece, the harvest of strengthening points naturally a lot. The other side, if Koichi Wisteria's gang had been any closer, they would have been affected, and they braked the car in unison, and then in the windows of the 5 cars, people came out to look at this scene, and before they could look back, the boss sitting in the second car suddenly roared. Stuff to park, what car? Hurry up and run. Zombies are coming. The boss blushed, stretched out half of his body, and scolded the first car in front of him with a vicious face, as if he was eager to swallow the driver of the car in front of him alive. Indeed, his lungs were about to explode, and who would have thought that these cars would explode for no reason, and that the location would be the direction they were heading, in case. The more the boss thought about it, the heavier the mood became, the eyelids kept jumping, and suddenly there was a bad premonition in his heart. Unconsciously on his face, there was already a lot of fine sweat, and he could do what he has now, which was enough to prove that he was not stupid at all, but very smart. He had long been aware of the characteristics of these zombies, so after the bomb, he immediately commanded after seeing the convoy stop. Unfortunately, however, his hunch soon came to fruition. Just watching the restarted convoy stop again, the anger that the boss had just extinguished broke out again, but when he was about to scold these subordinates, he was frightened by the sight in front of him. Zombies, large swaths of zombies, many in number, not 2,000, but also 1,000, probably. And that's not all. Grunt. The boss's throat not rolled heavily, and he felt very dry, and he almost couldn't even speak. Quick! Turn around. The boss really tore his throat and shouted this time, and the whole person sat back in his position as if he was scared silly, yelling at the driver of the car, that is, the second in command of their team. In the back of their car, there were 2 female students, who did not care whether their clothes were dressed or not, and all of them shouted in panic. The second handle is also frightened. The movement of the hand is not slow. Turning the steering wheel of the off-road vehicle immediately leaves the formation and drives in other directions, and other vehicles have turned around to keep up. Episode 39. It's done. In the car, Fong Nan's 3 people quietly stared at their masterpieces, and they all showed a faint smile, especially Asami Nakoka, who had been smiling and squinting as if he had a bad breath. Before they enter the viaduct, let's fly these drone bombs first. and when they find that there is no way to escape, only the viaduct can be walked in time, it should be just done. Fong Nan shifted his gaze to the drones, and then began to fly to the viaduct one by one remotely. On this side, the zombies wandering at the head of the bridge were also stimulated by the two loud noises, and they all ran in the direction of the grass, and there were zombies coming from all directions around them. The more they gathered, Fong Nan they had SUVs at all. That is, Wisteria Koichi they were going to suffer. Yellow bus. Koichi Wisteria was on this car. The car was full of students. There were originally a dozen, now there are only 10 left, and several female students, who are said to be exchanging feelings, pulled to the 4 off-road vehicles. As for whether it is true or not, it does not matter to him. Koichi Wisteria. Damn. What the hell is going on? How come so many zombies suddenly appeared? At the front of the car, Hiroichi Wisteria looked back at the dark zombie horde behind him. His originally handsome face became more and more vicious and piercing, and the tight tie made it difficult for him to even breathe at this moment. Hiroshi Wisteria kept telling their driver to speed up, but helplessly on the grass, the speed of the bus could not be fast at all, and if it was faster, there was a danger of rolling over. In the 4 SUVs in front of them, some people were terrified, and some of them were half out of the body laughing, and the guns in their hands were also frantically bursting. Boss, around. There is no turning back. The second handle of the second car was driving, and he was constantly looking for a breakthrough, but suddenly he found that there were zombies in all directions around him, and all around them were roads blocked by cars, and it was completely impossible to drive out. Damn. Damn it. As the boss, Oshima Sasuke had already discovered this problem, but he could only scream incompetently, watching the encirclement getting smaller and smaller. He shook his eyes on the viaduct, and when there was no way back, he immediately shouted and commanded the convoy, "Quick! Drive towards the viaduct, and now you can only break through the viaduct." Oshima Sasuke shouted at the second in command of the car. His face was gloomy and about to drip water. He slowly calmed down at the moment, knowing that no matter how loud it was, it could not solve the problem. The second in command hesitated for a moment, but soon did as Oshima-sa had told him. The convoy behind followed, but then they also found that the direction at this time was not a breakthrough, but it was too late, and the zombies chasing behind them were enough to overturn their vehicles. In this way, 5 cars, one after another, rushed to the emergency passage of the viaduct, followed by a large group of zombies rushing to the viaduct. At the same time, the SUV Li Fongnan, just finished setting up the drone, saw this scene, and hummed softly, "Someone to test the way for you. This kind of thing is simply not too good." Fongnan planned to wait for the number of zombies at the bridgehead to be smaller before they acted. After about 5 minutes, Koichi Wistero's gang had rushed into the middle of the viaduct, and Asami Nakoka and Tsunako Poison Island were a little anxious, because at this moment, most of the zombies on the viaduct had been attracted away, and the time had come. Sit tight. The corner of Fong Nan's mouth was slightly lifted. This time, Wisteria Koichi would have to peel off his skin even if he didn't die. Of course, if Tiangong was not beautiful, he was willing to do it for Taeyang Singdao. Poison Island Tsunako and Asami Nakoka immediately fastened their seatbelts, all with serious faces and strict looks. Boom. Fong Nan immediately started the SUV. The roaring engine suddenly exploded, directly rushed out towards the viaduct emergency passage. Along the way also knocked down a few zombies, but the stability of the enhanced SUV is extremely strong. The 3 people sitting in the car cannot even feel a little bump. Extremely stable. Seeing this scene, Fong Nan's heart was suddenly much more at ease, and his eyes became more and more excited, because he was not far from the silver treasure chest that he had in mind. Buzzing, SUV driving, like a beast, but 2 minutes, it came to the bridge. Fong Nan looked at the entrance of the viaduct. His hands quickly turned to hit the steering wheel. The wiper was also opened by Fong Nan at this time. At the moment of turning into the bridge, the SUV came to a dashing flutter. The body did not know how many zombies flew. Anyway, both sides of the body were full of blood. This stimulating operation not only stunned Asami Nakoka, but even the Cold Beauty's Poisonous Island squirrel couldn't help but look at the teenager next to him, and his eyes glowed with excitement. Ding! Gain boost point 39. Enhancement point, 874. Just drove to the bridge. Fong Nan relied on the SUV to kill 39 zombies. And this is just the position of the bridge, the whole process without the slightest effort. It is simply too easy. In this regard, Fong Nan felt for the first time that the system refreshed the silver treasure chest in such a place, which may have a deep meaning, such as allowing him to get more enhancement points. The road conditions are so bad, and the number of zombies is too terrible. Officially entered the emergency passage. The left is the normal use of the wide lane, but from the bridge to the opposite side of the road, all blocked by cars, of which the number of zombies is even more amazing. It is worth mentioning that the emergency passage is relatively narrow. If the ordinary car can be steered, Fong Nan's SUV does not have to think. Nakoka Asami was amazed, but her scalp was tingling. But Fong Nan and Poison Island Tsukiko were fine. After all, the swing in the air at the academy was more dangerous, and the number of zombies was only a lot more than this time. It seems that it was the right decision to let them be the vanguard. Fong Nan looked in front of him and said in a loud voice. About 70 or 80 meters ahead, dense zombies were running wildly in front, and the convoy of 5 cars in front of them was driving at full speed, and the last one was a yellow bus. Probably because of the zombies in front of it, the convoy was very bumpy, and it wanted to drive faster, and it was afraid of rolling over the zombies on the road. If you slow down, the zombies on the side of the road will take the opportunity to climb up. Fortunately, they are still well equipped, they have guns in their hands, and once a zombie catches the off-road vehicle, they will come to shoot and kill. In short, if there were no them, then their situation at this time would be Fong Nan's, but it also reflected the armed strength of the Wisteria Koichi gang. Of course, Fong Nan's side is not so easy. Brother Fong Nan, the zombies on the bridge are starting to pay attention to us. The voice of Poison Island Tsubasa suddenly sounded. The zombies on the viaduct heard the movement and rushed to this side, but because Oshima Sasa and the others were driving faster, when these zombies arrived, Oshima Sasa and his party had already driven to the front, so these zombies targeted the car of Fong Nan's 3 people. Fong Nan glanced in the rearview mirror, and the zombies who had chased Koichi Wisteria before had indeed begun to shift their targets, as if they were in crisis. Miss Nakoka, it's time, Fong Nan said lightly, still a steady batch of driving. He is not very worried. At this time, Fong Nan's previously arranged drone alarm clock, drone bombs will work. Jingle bells, dash, boom, boom. On the road after the SUV was speeding, in a dense group of zombies, an explosion exploded, and the zombies surrounding them all became shattered, and even the air turned red, like rain, and the broken flesh fell from the sky, and in an instant, the zombies behind the SUV were less than half. As for the zombies in front of them, they slowly ran towards the SUV, but a ringing bell made the zombies stunned in place, and under the choice between far and near, these zombies were close to the second drone. Then there was another explosion, and most of the zombie hordes that had been blocked in the emergency passage had turned into fragments, and the blood-colored air had been on the road for a long time. The power of the bomb is very strong, but Fong Nan's military anti-collision SUV is not instigated at all, directly carried all, and there is no damage. The only bad thing is that there is no way to resist the broken flesh and blood foam of those zombies, and the body is stained with a lot. It feels so good. Fong Nan didn't expect the effect to be surprisingly good, and couldn't help but laugh. Along the way, the SUV also killed a lot of zombies. The reinforcement points kept accumulating. Fong Nan's mood was suddenly happy a lot. This time down, he felt that he might have fished a lot. Asami Nakoka opened the skylight and stood up, holding an M4 rifle in her hand, shooting at a shower of zombies around her, and occasionally throwing a few grenades, blowing up the zombies in a pile of zombies beyond recognition. It was very slow to say, but in fact, the speed of Fong Nan's few people was still very fast. After all, the length of this viaduct was not so outrageous, only more than 1,500 meters. Under the opening of the bomb and the alarm clock, as well as the front Oshima Sasa and others, Fong Nan drove to the middle of the viaduct without any danger. Fong Nan, who was driving closely behind, suddenly appeared in the corner of his eyes, and at the same time, the system's prompt sound sounded, and the bright spot in his eyes was the place where the silver treasure chest was refreshed. I didn't expect this kind of function. In addition to the excitement in his heart, Fong Nan was also amazed that the details of the system were comprehensive enough, and even this positioning was there, which saved him the distraction of looking for it. The positioning of the system is just in the very center of the bridge, and there is still a distance. Episode 40. At this time, the group of Koichi Wisteria in front of them was extremely difficult and thrilling. Someone must have framed us, otherwise, those 2 cars could not have exploded at the same time, and even if they had, they would not have been able to explode at the same time by chance. Calming down, Oshima Sasuke sat on the co-pilot to analyze something. His eyes were not very big, his eyes narrowed even smaller. The whole person emitted a fierce breath, looking at the zombies on the road in front of him. His anger in his heart was even better. Boss, didn't we hear gunshots before? You mean they framed us? At this time, the second in command said a word, and instantly woke up the boss. Damn. If I had known who did it, I would have absolutely chopped them all up and fed them to the dogs. Oshima gritted his teeth and said that he deserved to be the leader of this gang, whether it was mental or courageous. He was much bigger than others. Just in an instant, he analyzed many clues. At this time, Fong Nan's movements finally attracted the attention of the last bus, Ziting Koichi. Someone behind us is following. And they seem to have bomb. Do you say? Shido Koichi ran to the rear of the car, and when he saw the explosion behind him, he couldn't help but be stunned, and then he thought of the 2 vehicle explosions that caused them to be so embarrassed. It's them. It must be the ghost they made. Wisteria Hirohito's face was vicious, and he did not have the usual personable and elegantly worded appearance, and the students in the car hugged the group, looking at such a wisteria Koichi were very scared. The people of the security company in the same car also noticed this, and hurriedly called the boss on the walkie-talkie to tell the situation behind. When Oshima Sasuke in front of him heard this, he was suddenly furious, and his eyeballs were about to bulge. Counted, thinking about how beautiful he was in the first half of his life, even in the legal society, the Ministry of Government could not help him, not only brushed the police as monkeys, but also had more than 10 people's lives on his hands, and today, he was pit by people. Kill me, kill those guys in the back, want us to be the ghosts of the dead, what a good thing. He said with some anger that the first time he had been pit so badly, he had lost his mind a little. On the bus, the 5 security companies listened to the orders of the boss on the intercom, one by one, looked at each other, but realized that their boss was really angry, and then they agreed. Then, several people walked to the back of the bus with guns, swept several shots at the SUV at a distance of 70 or 80 meters, and immediately shattered the glass behind the car. However, it is a pity that they use a submachine gun. The range of the submachine gun is not far away, not to mention that these 5 people are extremely poor in their heads, and it is good to hit the zombies, and they also want to hit Fong Nan's SUV, which is simply a fool's dream. Fong Nan, who was behind, also sensed the intentions of Koichi Wisteria's gang, and touched the steering wheel full of metallic texture, and Fong Nan smiled. Not to mention that this car is bulletproof. After strengthening, the defense is even stronger. Even if the rifle is fired at close range, it is difficult to break the glass of the car, not to mention the long-distance submachine gun. Are the guys funny? Unless these people have bombs, or some kind of armor-piercing bullets and other range of lethal weapons, there is no threat to Fong Nan's 3 people at all. But will those people have these weapons? Obviously the answer is no. Fong Nan's SUV was as flat as ever, relying on the heavy weight of the car. Even if it was crushed by zombies, it was only shattered in an instant, without a trace of vibration. On the contrary, the gang that went had to slow down, and then Fong Nan had to catch up with them. Wait 30 meters ahead, I need to stop the car, you don't move in the car. Fong Nan drove seriously, scanned the positioning information. He immediately opened his mouth, the line of sight positioning, showing that the silver treasure chest is 30 meters in front of the center of the bridge. Stop for a car? Poison Island and Asami Nikoka were stunned, but didn't think much of it, and nodded directly, believing that Fong Nan would not joke about his life. Chirping, the distance of 30 meters soon arrived, and Fong Nan vigorously slammed on the brakes, because the huge inertia SUV erased 4 dark tire marks on the ground, and wisps of white gas rose from the 4 wheels, and the body was slightly sideways. Without waiting for the SUV to completely stop, Fong Nan picked up the katana, tied a pistol around his waist, and then opened the door and immediately rushed in the direction of the center. Whoops, ho ho. After the SUV stopped, the surrounding zombies immediately surrounded. Fong Nan directly pulled out the samurai sword, and Nikoka Asami on this car, exposing half of his body on the roof, took the rifle and began to shoot wildly, solving a lot of trouble for Fong Nan. Fong Nanton felt less pressure and took the opportunity to jump on the roof of a small car.